Hello, wonderful and beautiful people of God. This is your friend and your sister. You're welcome back to my channel, Elizabeth Moore. We're going to be talking about the book of Joseph. We're going to be talking about Joseph in the Bible. We're going to go back to Genesis. What are the things that we can actually learn from this person that we call Joseph? So I'm going to be reading it out to you, and I'm going to be saying some things about it, and we carry on from there. That's what we're going to be doing. So before we go into this very chapter or series, or how do I say it, I want to thank each and every one of you that have been watching my videos. I want to thank those of you that have been sharing them with your friends. Thank you so much. I also want to say thank you, because I know that you will watch this video to the end. You will want to watch the series to the very end. You're going to drop me your comments. So I'm saying thank you to you in advance. So today is going to be about the Joseph series. Yeah, we're going back to Joseph series. I'm going to tag a video here of the last episode so you can refresh yourself about it on what we've been saying so far on the book of Genesis, but the story of Joseph in particular. Now we'll be looking at the story of Joseph starting from chapter 37. And then now we want to focus on Joseph himself. So Joseph has he's been sold by his brothers. He's been to the prison twice. He's been to Potiphar's house. He's helped people interpret their dreams that come to pass. Now it's time that things will be shadowed on Joseph, on this man called Joseph. All those things that he has gone through has been so significant in putting him where he was. Okay, so he's the second in command, literally like the first in command in Egypt. Okay, so all those things that he has gone through has really brought him up there. Now, what becomes of him? What happens to him? His own life. He had his own dreams. Let's not forget that. He has his own original dreams, which was what made him to be sold in the first instance. And his dream was about his brothers and his father bowing down to him. Now is a twist. Let's go back to his life and see. I'll be reading Genesis chapter 42 from the New Living Translation and the U version. So I'm going to be reading it from my phone. Joseph's brothers go to Egypt. When Jacob heard that grain was available in Egypt, he said to his sons, "Why are you standing around looking at one another? I have heard there is grain in Egypt. Go down there and buy enough grain to keep us alive. Otherwise, we'll die." So Joseph's 10 older brothers went down to Egypt to buy grain. But Jacob wouldn't let Joseph's younger brother Benjamin to go with them, for fear some harm might come to him. I mean, at this point, I'm going to say, yeah, I don't blame Joseph if he doesn't want to release Benjamin, because that was what happened in the first instance. He released Joseph, and at the end of it all, his brothers couldn't take care of him, and he was sold by his same brothers. But his father didn't know that his brothers sold him, so they thought harm had befallen Joseph. So let's continue from verse 5. So Jacob's sons arrived in Egypt along with others to buy food, for the famine was in Canaan as well. Since Joseph was governor of all Egypt and in charge of selling grain to all the people, it was to him that his brothers come. When they arrived, they bowed before him with their faces to the ground. Dream number one. They did what? They bowed before him with their faces to the ground. That's a dream coming true. Come on, let's go. Verse 7. Joseph recognized his brothers instantly, but he pretended to be a stranger and spoke harshly to them. "Where are you from?" he demanded. "From the land of Canaan," they replied. "We have come to buy food." Now, although Joseph recognized his brothers, they didn't recognize him. And he remembered the dreams he had about them many years before. He said to them, "You are spies. You have come to see how vulnerable our land has become." I'm going to stop here and say some things. The Bible tells us that Joseph recognized his brothers, but his brothers couldn't recognize him. I don't think if I were part of his brothers, I would recognize him, because I'm just imagining it at this minute. He might have had his head shaven to the style that the Egyptians had at that time, or yeah, and it's not putting on. They've sold him as a slave. They never imagined that he could come out to be the first or the second in command in that strange land. So, I mean, it will be difficult for them to really like recognize him. And probably, there's this kind of makeup that the Egyptians used at that time. I think they put this black thingy in their eyes like we women do these days. So they might not have really recognized him, probably looking like an Egyptian from head to toe. And they'll be like, "Oops, this can't be my brother." Yeah, so let's go on reading. Verse 10. "No, my Lord," they exclaimed. They even called him my Lord. So not just bowing down, they recognize and say, "Oh, my Lord, your servants have simply come to buy food. We are all brothers, members of the same family. We are honest men, sir. We are not spies." Honest men? I don't believe you are honest men. "Yes, you are," Joseph insisted. "You have come to see how vulnerable our land has become." "Sir," they said, "there are actually 12 of us. We, your servants." That's the third time they're acknowledging him to be a master. The first time they bowed to him. The second time they've called him Lord. Now they're calling themselves his servant. So we, your servants, are all brothers, sons of a living man sons of a man living in the land of Canaan. Our youngest brother is back there with our father right now, and one of our brothers is no longer with us." But Joseph insisted, "As I said, you were spies. This is how I will test your story. I swear by the life of Pharaoh that you will never leave Egypt unless your youngest brother comes here. One of you must go and get your brother. I'll keep the rest of you here in prison. Then we'll find out whether or not your story is true. By the life of Pharaoh, if it turns out that you don't have a younger brother, then I will know you're spies." I'm pausing there again, and I just want us to have a think about it. If you were in Joseph's shoes at this point, what would you have done? I'm thinking that Joseph is trying to prove their innocence. Joseph is trying to use this as a check to see if their father is alive, if Benjamin is still around. I think he's trying to test their innocence by doing that. And I'm not sure if I'm going to do that or if I'm going to do worse if I was in his shoes. But that was what he did. Let me know in the comment section what you think you would rather do, probably better or not like that, if you feel. Just put it down in the comment section. Okay, verse 17. So Joseph put in prison. So Joseph put them all in prison for 3 days. On the third day, Joseph said to them, "I am a God-fearing man. If you do as I say, you will live. If you really are honest men, choose one of your brothers to remain in prison. The rest of you may go home with grain for your starving families. But you must bring your youngest brother back to me. This will prove that you're telling the truth and you will not die." To this, they all agreed. Speaking among themselves, they said, "Clearly, we are being punished because of what we did to Joseph long time ago." So one way or the other, that just came back to mind to play to them that, oof, we're suffering for something. Maybe that's the gravest mistake they've ever done in their lives. And they probably believe in the law of karma, that what goes up must come down. You've done it, you're going to receive it. Maybe that was what they believed in. Again, let me know what you're thinking at this point. in the comment section. Yeah. We saw his anguish. Now that's the brothers talking about Joseph, that we saw his anguish when he pleaded for his life, but we wouldn't listen. That was when they threw him in the cistern. He was begging. So they saw all this, but they wouldn't listen. They were eating the pot of porridge, wasn't it? That's why we are in this trouble. So they probably believed what goes up must come down. They've done it, it's going to happen to them. Didn't I tell you not to sin against this boy? Reuben asked. But you wouldn't listen, and now we have to answer for his blood. Of course, they didn't know that Joseph understood them, for he had been speaking to them through an interpreter. Wow. So even in those days, there was something called an interpreter. Wow. I thought it was just something that was done in these years. So they've been an interpreter. Wow, I must be naive to be thinking that there wasn't one. Now he turned away from them and began to weep. When he regained his composure, he spoke to them again. Then he chose Simeon from among them and had him tied up right before their eyes. Joseph then ordered his servants to fill the men's sacks with grain, but he also gave secret instructions to return each brother's payment at the top of his sack. He also gave them supplies for their journey home. So the brothers loaded their donkeys with the grain and headed for home. But when they stopped for the night, and one of them opened his sack to get grain for his donkey, he found his money in the top of his sack. "Look," he exclaimed to his brothers, "my money has been returned. It's here in my sack." Then their hearts sank. Trembling, they said to each other, "What has God done to us?" How many times have you asked yourself that question? What has God done to us? When the brothers came to their father, Jacob, in the land of Canaan, they told him everything that had happened to them. "The man who is governor of the land spoke very harshly to us," they told him. "He accused us of being spies, scouting the land. But we said, we are honest men, not spies." Which honest? "We are 12 brothers, sons of one father. One brother is no longer with us, and the youngest is at home with our father in the land of Canaan." Then the man who is governor of the land told us, "This is how I will find out if you are honest men. Leave one of your brothers here with me and take grain for your starving families and go on home. But you must bring your youngest brother back to me. Then I will know you are honest men and not spies." You see, that was a test, wasn't it? That was a test for them. Then I will give back your brother and make trade freely in the land." As they emptied out their sacks, there in each man's sack was the bag of money he had paid for the grain. The brothers and their father were terrified when they saw the bags of when they saw the bags of money. Jacob exclaimed, "You were robbing me of my children. Joseph is gone. Simeon is gone. And now you want to take Benjamin too. Everything is going against me." Can you feel that anguish? Can you feel the anguish of that old man saying all that to his children who wouldn't even want to tell him the truth, or who has done something that is unheard of? Then Reuben said to his father, "You may kill my 2 sons. If I don't bring Benjamin back to you, I'll be responsible for him, and I promise to bring him back." But Jacob replied, "My son will not go down with you. His brother Joseph is dead." Because that's what he thinks, that's what he believes after all these years. "And he is all I have left. If anything should happen to him on your journey, you will send this grieving white-haired man to his grave." And that's the end of chapter 42. What do you think about this story? If you were in Joseph's shoes, how would you behave? Better or less than he had done? what can you really say from the reunion? Did you say the reunion? They came back together, didn't they? But it was not really on the friendly note, because there were still issues of trust. There were still issues of trust. Joseph didn't really trust his brothers. Even the father didn't really trust his sons. Apart from Joseph and Benjamin, he probably didn't trust them all. So there was this issue of trust that was playing out there, and you could see it. And we could also see a confrontation happening. You could see the way the old man was confronting his children, telling them that, why are you doing this to me? Why are you doing this to me? So all these things are happening. If you were in Joseph's shoes, how would you behave? So this is chapter 42 of the story so far, changing back to see what is happening. I'm sure you're getting geared up, you're getting excited to know what is going to happen in the next episode, which is going to be chapter 43, where we would see what's going to happen next. Will he take Benjamin with him, or would he stay? I know a lot of people watching this have really read the story and could easily tell me like this, that this is what they know is going to happen. I'll be so excited to hear that from you. I'll be really excited. So till I come your way again next time, thank you for watching and have a blessed day. Bye.